All right, what's good, everybody, and happy Tuesday night. I hope you're living good, feeling good, and welcome to the Hustle, Budget, and Glow podcast. I have an amazing guest today, Mr. Randall. I'm going to introduce him shortly, but before we hop into that, I want to make sure you check out the latest episode that dropped today. It was from an amazing guest I had, Mr. Abbas Muhammad from Remote Leverage. Make sure you check that out. It premiered today. Go on the YouTube channel, watch the video, go on your favorite streaming platform. That is the best way to support and show love to the podcast by representing and showing up on social media and on YouTube. Same for Mr. Randall Avery. Make sure you go on his social media. He'll give that out later. Make sure you support his business. Go on his website, say hi to him, get to know him, build a contact, build a community. That is how you show the love and the global shine when you show up and you say hi to people and you connect with them. There's never a question you can't ask me or anyone on my show. We're here to help you, and we're here to help you grow and level up mentally and financially. And I have the finance man himself live on the show today, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Randall Avery. Randall, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are. Let's get active. This is the Hustle, Budget, and Glow podcast.
First of all, Shelby, appreciate you having me on. Like you said, my name is Randall Avery. I own Diesel Wealth Management. It's a wealth management firm in the Atlanta metro area, but we serve clients across the United States. I specialize in three different areas. The first one is helping pre-retirees. So if you think you're 15 years away from retirement, please think about me. The second one are self-employed individual, which I think touches this audience a lot. And last but not least is practice owners. When you think about practice owners, think about therapists, dentists, attorneys, anybody who's in a practice structure. Those are the three areas that I special in. And the number one thing that I do is I love to help my community succeed and anybody who uses my services succeed with money.
You heard him. If you use his services, you're gonna succeed with some money. Okay, Randall. So tell us how you got started in the financial money game, helping those three pillars. Have you always been counting coins, doing Excel spreadsheets? How did you transition to becoming a business owner and helping people within your community?
Well, we're going to start, let's talk way back, way
Okay.
back. So when I was a kid, I was always known as a saver. And I used to hide a stash of my money underneath my trophy case. And at night, because the trophy case is right next to our bed, I used to stare at this trophy case like there's something that needs to be done with this money. Fast forward a couple years, I took a finance course, Finance 3300, where we learned the term compound interest. And then it clicked. I should have been doing something with this money over the years. The problem that I had, and when I knew I was a kid, was this money sitting still was dead. I needed it to grow. I needed it to do something for itself. So that's why I switched my major to accounting and finance. Now, I thought I was going to be a big time investment banker, right? But something happened in 2008 called the financial crash, and no banks were hiring. So I had to do a pivot in my career. I spent around 3 years in internal audit. So when we think about internal audit, think about processes, checks and balance. Really think about those little aspects of the business that are so important for all business owners. So I enjoyed that time. But I knew I missed finance. I missed calculating, I missed projecting. So I spent about 7 years in corporate FP&A. But I really wanted my numbers, the numbers that I'm calculating, to mean something to individuals. So that's when I went out on my own, and now I serve individuals and business owners, helping them reach their financial goals.
Okay, what a story. Okay, from the trophy case to maybe Wall Street, then the 2008 crash, and now you are not clocking in for anybody but doing your own thing. That is so funny. So, did you ever do anything with that money under the trophy case? We must know. What did you do with it?
Well, I know a couple times my mom snuck a couple dollars to pay the pizza guy.
Okay.
She claims she reimbursed it, but I think the tally was off $1 or $2. Not really. I think when I was probably 15, I opened up my first bank account and I put that money in the bank account. But still, banks were only growing so much at that time, so it was still dead money.
Still dead money. Yeah, I mean, most people weren't finding any type of job, even in any field, not just banking in 2008, right? Like people all over were really just scrambling to make it, right? Especially if you were a new graduate. It didn't really matter what your degree was. Good luck. A lot of people were standing in line serving pizzas or saying hi, welcome to Walmart, even with that brand new undergrad or master's degree they had just paid all that money for. Correct me if I'm wrong. How long did it take for the economy to kind of get back after that? Was it a year and a half, or how long was it?
I would say for the job market to balance itself out, probably about 6 years until people
Six
could
years.
say, hey, I can have a degree and get a job pretty easily. So it was a tough time. One story that like really changed the way I think about things and probably traumatized me a little bit. My first job a guy, we became cool. He kind of set himself as a mentor to me. One morning, they called us all into an office and said that mentor and his group was going to be let go. And this is
Okay.
my first job, first year, a year and a half out of college. And I'm like, how do we let people go who has families, hopes, dreams, aspiration? One minute we smile on their face, and next minute they disappear. And everybody in the office pretended like it didn't happen. It was things like that that kind of motivated me to kind of go out on my own and also desire financial independence, because something people need to realize, there will be a time in your life where you are unemployed. So planning for that time is really just being a responsible adult.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't have said it better myself. There will be a time when you are unemployed. And I feel like typically people get unemployed like right when they finish college, like within that first 1 or 2 years. I think it happens to a lot of people more often than people would think. So if you just graduated or you're about to graduate, please save your money. I'm begging, as someone who works in HR, as your HR friend, it could happen at any time. I remember I got laid off a year and 2 months after I got my first job. And my mind was blown. Like literally, and the crazy part was I thought all was good. I had just got literally a raise, not much, but a couple $1,000 is crazy to somebody who just finished school. Had just got a raise, okay? Had just went on like a really big work trip to New York for like I worked in like marketing back then, like a marketing and social media conference. I was like, what? I'm traveling and I lived at home. I'm like, I'm saving money, like I'm chilling, I'm good. Literally got back from that work trip. That next week when I got back, like that Monday, we had a magic town hall meeting. You know, I love a good town hall. And it happened out of nowhere. We got to work and everybody was chilling within 30 minutes. It was like everyone come across the street to the building. If you're in these departments, come across the street. And it was hundreds of people in the elevator. I work for a huge like oil and energy company. And we go across the street, everybody's flooding the elevator. We get in the room and never forget the man was like, today's the day that I don't like. Everyone in this room has been let go. Literally, it went straight to hell. Like there were like undercover cops in there in plain clothes. I remember like someone got in a fight. Like it was insane. But the real crazy part was in order for me to get my severance, I had to stay for 3 months and
Hmm.
I had to train the people that bought us out that were going to take us over. It was like the absolute worst. So with all that being said, you guys, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job, how early you come, how late you stay, how many trips you go on, the promotions. At any point, you can be let go. And I remember going to my car and I had just bought a new car. So I was even more heated. I remember going to my car out and crying and like calling my mother. And it was the most devastating thing ever. But thankfully in my situation, I lived at home. I had no student loans. So like, why was I crying? It was just the disrespect. It was just letting me go, number one. And something that I really tried. I could see if I was not even doing my job, but it didn't matter. Randall's right. Like, if your name's not on the door, it's never yours. I'm not saying not to go to work and try. I'm just saying try to save your money. Do something for yourself, right? So I think Randall could definitely agree. I think he's the money hacking king. And I'm going to throw in his book right now. We'll get into that later, but hacking the system, okay? So if anyone can tell you what you can do to make sure your trophy money, you get some use out of it, it's this man right here. You can get it on Amazon, but I'll let him tell you more about it later. But Randall, go ahead. If you could touch on what I just said at all or how you relate to it, that would be great.
Yeah, I feel like the original, like if you want to talk about the original sin, is that colleges don't prepare you in the sense of they promise you something. They say obtain good grades, gain experience, and all will be well. And I think if we really articulated the real opportunity that is in corporate America, there's nothing wrong with going to corporate America. But as long as we are steeped in truth, like reality of turnover, the average time you're going to spend at a job, the opportunity of whether you have a good or bad boss, those things need to be talked about, not just work hard, because working hard will not always yield you the success that you want. It takes a balance of savvy, it takes a balance of skill, and those are the type of conversations I have with my clients and the real conversations we should be having with each other.
100%, because I'm telling you, I did not learn anything about a layoff when I was an undergrad. Nobody was telling me what a layoff was. Nobody was telling me I could have a bad manager. Nobody was telling me about a performance review. Nobody was telling me I could be mistreated or disrespected, even if I work hard. We didn't get the reality, the real deal of what work in corporate America is. And at the end of the day, most people in this lifetime that go to school will end up going to corporate America, right? And the trajectory we're going in now, honestly, I see trades are making a comeback and people are getting certifications and going the trade route that are coming out of high school, or some people are realizing that first year, hey, like I want to go a different way for my career to have more stability. And I get that. And no matter what route you're choosing, Just take accountability for your finances and for yourself. And I wish, like you said, schools taught these things. They don't teach that. They don't teach how to network at work with a person who you might not get along with for no reason. You could be the nicest, most friendliest person, and the person who is in charge of making sure you get that promotion might not be your manager. But there's somebody on your team that interacts with your manager at a higher level, and they make your life a living hell for no reason. They don't even tell you how to handle that. They don't tell you how to get through the corporate nuances in protecting your mental health, because the number one people typically leave work. Second is money. Number one is how they're treated. And number three is usually not being able to go up at work. If you treat somebody right, they're making enough money, and you're promoting them, they typically will stay. But when people are being mistreated, burnt out, have no time for their family, being overlooked, people don't stay where they're not valued. Not anymore. Not in the world we live in today. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, our parents, they stayed and they retired, and I'm sure they were treated horribly. Yeah, HR wasn't really HR back then. It wasn't so many lawsuits. I can promise you that much. But in the world we live in today, most employee turnover, it can be within 9 months to a year. You better make sure, if you are going to make that pivot, if you are going to leave that job and you say, I don't want to be here anymore, or you get let go, have, I'd say 6 months saved up. People say 3 to 6. 3 months goes by real quickly, especially if you don't get approved for unemployment. So I don't know. That's my hot take. What do you think, Randall?
I think that's spot on. I think it takes time to find a job. And if you're making X amount of dollars, the more money you make, the more you need to have put aside for that downturn, because it's just hard to replace a job. If you're a senior manager at XYZ, if you're a senior analyst at XYZ, those jobs don't come around all day, every day. And let's be honest, not only do you have to be qualified, they have to like you as well. So putting those two together is important. So that's one of the main reasons why I begin to help, more self-employed people, because the dynamics are different versus somebody who's an employee.
The dynamics are super different. But even for those employees, you guys, keep in mind, your salary can change. Just like he said, you could have been a senior manager at the biggest tech company, and if you get laid off, it might take you another 1 to 2 years before you even get a job to match that caliber. Let's just say you get a job after, I don't know, 10 months of being let go, and you've been out of work. And the stories are true. Go on LinkedIn if you don't believe me. People have been out of work for 8, 10 plus months, and they get a job, and it's 30 to 50% pay cut. But guess what? They have bills to pay. And their bills also have not changed, because people's lifestyles typically don't change. Just because they made that before doesn't mean that their bills, that they don't still have that $2,200 rent, that they don't still have that $400 car note. So you might not get the job you want next during that process of you losing your job, but don't be above your bills. Okay. Just try to be within your income to maintain. And I feel like if you keep putting in the work, and during that downtime, let me say this, you guys, this is the world of side hustles. It's okay to work on your passions and your hobby and learn how to monetize those if your income takes a hit. Go do something with that time. Go get a certification, go back to school, watch YouTube videos. Don't just be stagnant in the time when you feel like you're being punished, because you could really be learning and transforming, and you're missing out on that. So definitely take advantage of that. And like Randall said, put that money aside, because you never know. And it might be hard to get back to that 200, 150 that you were making. It might, but guess what? I feel like if you really put in the time, you guys, you really focus on your skills, people pay you for having multiple skills. If you only have one thing that you can do, it's already going to be super hard for you to find a job. If you just have a degree and you are good at marketing, that is not enough. I hope you can do other things. That way, those skills can get you that next big job, and you might actually come out on top and be better than the job that let you go. So keep that in mind when you're looking at money, when you're looking at careers. There's no end all be all. Even if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, I'm an employee and I'm an entrepreneur, and money changes in both. Income can fluctuate depending on the season and depending on what it is that you do. So that's my hot take for creating my own system, and I'm using his book title. So Randall, so you work with these clients in 3 different tiers. What is your favorite tier of client to work with?
I love a good self-employed person.
Okay.
And actually, I think it suits your audience. I like somebody who starts off corporate job and does something on the side. And the reason why it kind of levies toward practice owners, because once you're licensed, you can do something for a corporate person, but you also can do something on the side legally and register your business. So having that balance of that stable job, plus being able to do something on the side and always have the optionality to take that step out on your own, that's the person or the type of person that I want to work with, because they don't feel constrained. I don't have to hear them complain about their boss, because when they complain about their boss, all I have to tell them is quit. And they know they can do that anytime. And I think the secret and the most powerful thing is their boss usually knows they can quit at any time. So when
Right.
somebody knows that you have options, somebody knows you can go someplace else, they will begin to treat you differently. And I think it's a subtle thing when somebody knows that this is your best opportunity or opportunity that won't come around but so often. That's when I feel like folks begin to be taken advantage of. I like clients that see unlimited opportunity, that see their lives as freedom, and there's no cap on what they can make, and there's no cap on if I learn a skill, I can put that into practice as soon as possible. It's those folks that say, I have a degree and this is it. Those are the people who kind of, you hear the sad stories of, I got unemployed, I don't know what to do next, I had this bad boss, I had this bad employee or coworker. You don't hear those stories with people with options.
Right. You typically don't. And like you said, whether or not your manager knows that you have a side hustle or you have something else you're working on, they can typically tell you're just the kind of person that has options regardless, right? And you don't necessarily have conversations for your manager to be in your business and know your income anyway, if you do have side income. But even if they did, your manager I can always tell somebody who can make it no matter what. Like, you're going to be good no matter you work here or if you don't. Like, you're going to find a way to make it. And you're also of value to some extent at this company, right? Even though we can pay somebody else to do this job, we want you here. You're easy to get along with. Yeah, you have the education, but you have the skills and you do it really, really well and you're collaborative. So we'd rather have you here than lose you because we do know that you are top talent no matter what. And if you walk away from us, somebody else will scoop you up within the next 6 to 12 months. So I think that's also, one of the main things. And guys, I am such a big advocate for education. I have my degrees. Randall has his degrees. It's great. It's important, but don't let that be the only thing you bring to the table because we don't live in a world where degrees are going to only pay your bills. To be honest with you, you have to be the kind of person that if you lost your job tomorrow, you have a skill or enough skills to be able to go and make money doing something else. It's super important. And I'm telling you that from experience. I have been in the layoff line and it is what it is. Thankfully, like I said, I lived at home that first time around, but I've been laid off. I can't even keep up at this point. It is what it is from these corporations. And it's sad. I think I've been laid off 3 times. The first time out of college, or right before college, I had a job offer where I worked part time in grad school, and the government shut down and it got taken away. And I had just graduated or was about to graduate, and that sucked, right? And so then the next one was the story I just told you, and then after that was not too long ago. It was last year from my big tech corporate job, and 3 times in a matter of wow, what 5.5 years? It's life. Eventually, I did not live at home anymore, and the bills were still there, and you just have to figure it out. But thankfully, I have other skill sets. Being an entrepreneur and an employee is it's a blessing, but it's also a lot of work because you're doing both. And I think Randall knows this. Like when you're working with that person who is an employee, but also as an entrepreneur, sometimes we put less or more into our job or our business because it kind of just goes that way. You can't give 100% at both all the time, and that's why I think at some point people do choose just to walk away from corporate America and become that full-time business owner once you have the means to do so. I'm not saying leave your corporate job and you can't pay your bills and you can only be an entrepreneur for 4 months. That's not what I'm saying. Make sure long term you have the grit, number one, and the energy to put into the business. And also you have at least some clientele. Because if you don't even have the grit or the passion, unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, it probably won't last. You probably can't hack that system. So I do want to talk about not the self-employed or the people who are about to retire, but the practice owners. What is their focus? Because when you're a practice owner, when you're a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, you have residual income. It's always coming typically. And the idea of saying, oh my God, I might not have any clients this month is few far in between, just depending, I guess, on what you're doing. So how do they think? What is their mindset? Especially for people that maybe if you're listening, you're a med student or you're a dental school student or you're a law student or thinking about it. So you can kind of learn how your money can go forward in the future. What would you have to say about that?
So surprisingly, practice owners start from zero. You would know that.
Okay.
So if you're an attorney who does, civil litigation, you have to drum up your own clients. If you're a dentist who owns your own practice, you have to drum up your own clients. There's nothing residual coming in. I interviewed a dentist a couple weeks back, and she said, I lived at home as a full dentist practicing until I could build up my clientele. My dental hygienist made more than I did for the first couple of months. So that's kind of why I like that. So these are people who are extremely educated, licensed within the state in which they're practicing, spend, years learning up under somebody, but they still have to start from ground zero. And I think the secret is service-based business has to be part of the community. They just can't post on social media. They have to interact with somebody. They have to touch somebody. Somebody has to get some type of feeling before they do business with XYZ, whether it's through a referral or something else. So these type of businesses not only have to start from zero, but they also have to be involved in their community. So that's kind of what I love about these type of business owners.
Okay, so they're going to the Chamber of Commerce, they're promoting within the community, they're making sure the local high school or local church has their flyer. And what was really interesting, you said this girl lived at home while she built her clientele and saved her money. And so obviously these people had worked before they go and start their own, they don't go from med school and dental school to start their own practice. They've been at work. And so, but they're coming with the funds. They don't have the money from day one. But do you typically see these people coming with the money already built up, or are they just starting to practice?
They start to practice. So the I think the myth is that people have a nest egg saved up before they make the leap. The theory is people have a book of business before they make the jump. The average entrepreneur just jumps. I don't recommend it as a financial advisor, but if you want to look at what happens in real life, people just jump, whether they're just fed up, they feel a calling, an internal drive within themselves. This is what happens in the real world. And you may think an attorney or a dentist is coming with a high salary, but high salary does not necessarily mean high savings or high investment amounts. So these people really start from zero, have a hope and a dream, just like somebody who's a chef or a baker. That's just the reality of the situation.
That's really even crazier to me. I mean, yeah, for any other entrepreneur, we just start. I own an e-commerce bakery. I just started. I've been cooking my whole life. I said, you know what, let's do it. Let me just go out there. Let me just take what I have and buy this LLC and pray it works, right? Like there was no promise. There was no clients. I didn't have any bakery orders on standby. And I was also baking out of my parents' kitchen, trying to make it, living upstairs. So I just jumped, but in my mind, I'm thinking somebody that is an attorney or a doctor or a dentist, they're making however much they're making every year. Let's just say 325,000 a year. They've been saving, but I think it also goes back to what I said: their lifestyle and what they were doing before. They got fed up, and they wanted something new, and they just jumped. But maybe I guess I was hoping they would have that nest egg. I was hoping they would have it a lot more than just the person who doesn't have such a set in stone, quote unquote, stable career, right? Not a employee at the tech company in the marketing firm or the person who wants to cook and has been selling cupcakes out of their trunk or their parents' house. I was just hoping and praying that they already had some money set aside. But I mean, it is what it is. It's not easy. So like you said, they were just set up as the average person. Who do you see the most success from out of your three pillars?
The most success. So how do you want to define success?
I want to define success as client retention and income year over year.
For me personally,
No, not for you,
for
for the
the
clients,
clients.
for the three pillars. Please do not reveal any information live on the show. I don't want anyone coming to your house robbing you in Atlanta. I'm begging.
Don't touch anything. I would say, surprisingly, mental health has been a big buzzword. And I've been working with a lot of clients in the mental health space. When you think about mental health, you think about licensed counselors, you think about psychologists. These folks, because of what's going on in society, because of the way, our diet, the way we raise our kids, the political environment we're in, also the job market we just discussed, there's a lot of need for these type of services. So they've been able to scale their practices really fast. A lot of them just put themselves on a list services. It's called Psychology Today, and they automatically get clients. And it's the most craziest thing. But yeah, they have been killing it as far as my client base over the past couple of years.
You know what? I'm not surprised because I think one of the main things people focused on when the pandemic happened, when the world shut down, was their mental health. People got really in touch with wellness, with being outside, with being with their self, being within their home, being alone, and really kind of just tapping into who they are. And they realized this job wasn't everything. This career that I went to 80 hours a week. Now I'm at home. I'm not going to any office. Wow, this is the first time in my life that I have time for me. So I think everybody kind of took a look at what mental health was, what passions were, what hobbies were, and how they could tap in more to themselves, including me. I definitely did that myself too. I really did a whole refresh, a restart on who I am mentally and physically, and how I treat me and what's good for me. How do I wake up every day and show up for myself? So I'm in agreement. And, this is a financial wellness and mental wellness podcast, you guys. And I'm really big on before you have the money, you have to have the mindset. And sometimes you have to be put in situations that might seem unfair or might seem hard for you, like a layoff, like a career change. But it's really, I really truly believe it's changing you so you can be set up for your next financial gain. Because I'll be honest with you, sometimes when you have something, when you have that job, you don't appreciate it so much. You don't appreciate the income and what it can do for you because you feel like it's automatic, right? Like you should get it, like it's deserved with the degree and you've worked, you did the experience. But you realize nothing is given to you. Like you don't deserve anything, right? Except to wake up and breathe every day. So I say all that to say, work on yourself. If you really work on yourself and you work on how you show up in front of other people, I think things will start pouring in for you. And I think that's one of the best ways to really be in control of your finances, be in control of your money. But if you don't have the right mindset, if you're a negative person, or if you're around people who are bringing you down, who are not contributing to where you want to be at, it's going to be really hard for you to get ahead financially. I don't care how much money you make. Working in HR, I see people make hundreds of thousands of dollars working in tech. And they're some of the most unhappiest people I've ever seen, whether they have a drug addiction or whether they don't spend time with their family or whether they are spending $20,000 a month on things they don't need. It is what it is. And that has a lot to do with how they look at themselves. Until you get yourself right, it doesn't matter how much money you make. I promise you, you could lose it all very easily. So think about that. And I'm not surprised those clients are doing the best right now. I think Americans, like you said, with everything going on and the climate we live on in the economy, with what we're seeing in the media, what we're seeing politically, people just got to get their minds right. Like if I don't have me, forget the money. Like there's only so much money I can make before I snap and I'm burnt out. Hell, I might quit the job. You don't even got to lay me off. I'll leave. Don't worry about it. A lot of people are doing that too. They're tired. They wanna keep it moving. You know, a lot of my listeners and viewers are Gen Z, are millennials, and thank you guys for listening. Fellow millennial myself, Randall's also a millennial too. So thank you guys for tuning in. What would be your top tip for a millennial and a Gen Z in the economy we live in now financially? And you can give more than one. What should we be focusing on right now?
So the first thing is going to be a non-financial thing. The first thing is find a place where you can be authentically yourself. So whether that's find a job that you can be authentically yourself, find a skill set or industry where you can be authentically yourself. Because what I see, which causes a lot of financial troubles, is I can't be myself here, so I have to overspend over there. So if you can just find a place where you can be authentically yourself at work, at play, at social, find people, a true community, that's going to be the number one thing, because if you don't solve that problem, money is just going to drip out the bucket real fast. The second thing I would recommend is, we mentioned it, have that reserve cash fund. They say the FU money, the money where you can just say, hey, I don't want to deal with this no more and I can walk away. I argue for a lot of, especially my practice owners, you are not a professional unless you can say no to a job assignment and walk away from that job. Let me say it one more time. You are not a professional unless you can say no, because there's times that people are going to ask you to do something that goes against your ethics, your morals, and your beliefs. And you may say, okay, well, I got over that, I did that thing, but it will churn at you year after year, and then it will actually show up in money habits. So number one way to keep that is to keep that reserve. The third thing is, I'll leave you at this, is automatic investing. We think it's simplistic. We think it's simple, but just regularly contributing to your employer's retirement account, into a Roth IRA if you're self-employed, or a SEP IRA. Have a set amount that you contribute into that account over time. That is going to make a significant difference in your financial trajectory. So if you do those three things, also I'll add, find a good partner to partner up with in your life. At those things I've seen make an immense difference in your life financially.
100%. Those are definitely super, super high on every list. Should be on anybody's list, but definitely the last one. Who you decide to spend your life with can make or break you mentally and financially. It's probably one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make is who you're going to decide to partner up with. And y'all have to be on the same page financially. And maybe y'all look at finances two different ways, but y'all have to meet each other halfway at the end of the day. And I am nobody's partner, but I'm smart enough to know that when and if I do decide to do that, we definitely have to be aligned because it's a partnership. I think people look at finances separately sometimes when they're with somebody, but it's together. It's one thing. It's a household situation. Y'all both got to have conversations. I'm not talking about who's paying what, who's buying the groceries, who's paying the Netflix. I'm talking about long term. What are your goals? Do you want to be 70 still going to work? Those are the kind of questions that I want to have with a partner. Are we having monthly budget conversations? What are our retirements looking like? What are our goals that we want to do with this money? Why are we investing and why are we saving? I remember my financial advisor asked me, what are 3 reasons you want to open a financial portfolio? What are you going to do with this money? You should be asking yourself that. You should be asking your partner that. Because if you don't know the reason for saving and investing, if you don't know the reason for having this money, you might waste it or you might overlook it or overlook opportunity. So definitely kudos to what Randall said. I think it's highly, highly important. And I kind of want to get into your book now, Randall, Hacking the System. I want to learn some more about it. I have not got to crack it open, but it's crisp and I'm ready to do it. I already see some chapters in here, okay? Social responsible spending. Okay, I'm excited. One of the chapters was healthcare. Give hard and give often, okay? The value of financial capital. Okay, 3 groups you should always win when you consume. Okay, I'm convinced. Tell us about this book. I wanna know. I wanna preview before I crack it open.
Yeah. So while working with clients, I kind of was confused. I was like, well, I give you a financial plan. Why don't you follow it? And just the general population, what is holding people back from winning with money? Because financial math is very simple math. It's just simple algebra. It's not complicated. Anybody can get their head around it. But as we spoke a lot about, a lot of these things are emotional. And a lot of these things we step into, we almost get entrapped with. So we almost are trapped in something I call the system. So the question is, how can I hack this system and potentially use the principles of the system to work for my own benefit? So the book was my best effort to list out what you are up against. What are the things that could be holding you back? What are some of those thoughts and head traps that we put in our head that hold us back from making the money that we want to? And a lot of it's just, consumerism. A lot of people market us in a way to make us spend more, and it's breaking those habits. And the next thing, once you break those habits, once you realize these things are happening to you, what are some things that I can put in place to have something working for me on a consistent basis? And I think those things are really big.
Okay, so this is a blueprint for utilizing what the system has put in place to maybe hold you back to work for your benefit. And I think a lot of times, like you said, the consumerism, right? I think, especially nowadays, people teach you that if you spend more, you'll feel better. The more you spend, the happier you are. Just a small treat. Just get that coffee every day, right? Just go to dinner 4 or 5 times a week or order the DoorDash, have the meal prep weekly drop off that you get sent and don't cook your own food, don't worry about it, right? So I definitely agree on the consumerism part. We have a question from the audience. Randall, since you're an author and a successful businessman who gives great advice, what is what is the latest great book you read, and what was the key point you attained from reading it? You can't use your own book, Randall, by the way.
One of the books that I just read, so I'm part of a book club. It's an all male book club. We come together every month and we read different books. And our most recent book is called The Four Agreements. And the four agreements is what it says. It's four agreements that if you tell yourself these things, you will possibly live a better life. And one of those agreements was don't assume. A lot of times we assume different things. We say, that person's too busy to talk to me. That customer will never do business with me. That opportunity is not built for me. And those assumptions actually keep us held back. I touched a little bit about that on my book. Just go out and meet somebody different, somebody outside of what you usually would talk to. And you may be surprised. Somebody which you assume would have nothing to do with you will potentially fall in love with you and actually be a catalyst for your career and your personal life. So it's really saying, what is the head trash? What are the assumptions? They call them, what agreements have I been endowed with that I need to break to really move to the next level? So it was a good bit. So the 4 agreements.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun. This was very informative. Ladies and gentlemen, please reach out to Randall. Say hi to him. I'm going to let him go ahead and give the information on where you can get his book, how you can contact him, and how you can use his services, or even if you want him as a resource, as somebody to network with. However, he can be of use to you, please reach out to him. He's a great person to have in your Rolodex and to have on your team. So, Randall, tell people how they can reach out to you, how they can connect with you, and where they can find your book.
Right. If you just want to be social with me, just look up all the handles. Randall Avery. I think I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you want to learn more about my business, how I service my clients in the community, visit my website, www.deasilwm.com. That's deasilwm.com. And also, the book is on Amazon. So it's called Hacking the System by Creating Your Own System. I think a lot of people have enjoyed it. I think it's important for those who are about to go to college and also just got out of college. I think it's a needed resource. Some of the conversations that we had today, it needs to be had with our youth before they get into trouble, before they develop those habits. You mentioned drug usage, you mentioned depression. We need to get this information to them as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. You heard the man. Go get the book. Randall, it has been great having you. My mom said thank you. Thank you so much, Randall. It has been amazing having you. I'm so happy I got to meet you. Definitely want to keep you in my network and stay in touch with you. Of course, if I'm ever in Atlanta, if you're ever in Austin, I'd love to meet you in real life. But you are my financial friend for life. And thank you for saying yes to being on the show and for making time for me. It means the world to me. I know it means the world to everyone on the show. Guys, again, the way to show up for the people that I have on my show, the way to support them is to reach out to them, say hi. You never know what a conversation can do. It could change your life. Even if you don't need his services right now today, maybe you got to figure out some things for your finances. Just say hi. Keep it in mind. Maybe he can send you a fact sheet. I don't know. Just reach out, connect with him, have him on your timetable to say hi to. Show up, support the podcast, follow me and Randall on our social medias, share the love, subscribe, share with family and friends. And that being said, another great episode for Hustle Budget and Glow. Another great guest. Randall, thank you so much. It's been real, everyone. Peace out. Share the love, and the glow will shine. Thank you, everybody.